Today we're going to dive deep into the oceanic and maritime mysteries iceberg, from mysterious oceanic creatures to strange fossils to islands which seem to have disappeared and people lost at sea. This video's got it all and more. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Tully monster, scientifically known as Tullimonstrum gregarium, is one of the most peculiar and controversial creatures discovered in the fossil record. It lived approximately 300 million years ago during the Pennsylvanian period and has been primarily found in the Mazon Creek fossil beds in Illinois. Named after the amateur fossil hunter Francis Tully, who discovered it in 1958, this creature has perplexed scientists for decades due to its unique and bizarre anatomy. The Tully monster's physical characteristics are quite unusual. It possessed a long, flexible proboscis ending in a claw-like structure, eyes on stalks extending from either side of its head, and a segmented body resembling that of a modern-day worm or slug. Despite its strange features, the largest specimens of Tully monster only reached about a foot in length. For years, the classification of the Tully monster remained contentious. Initial theories varied widely, with some scientists suggesting it could be a worm, mollusk, or even an arthropod. However, a significant breakthrough occurred in 2016 when a team of researchers from Yale University and the Field Museum in Chicago conducted a detailed study of over 1,200 Tully monster fossils. They proposed that the creature was a vertebrate, closely related to modern lampreys. The basis for this classification rested on several anatomical features that the researchers identified. They pointed out the presence of a notochord, which functions similarly to a spinal cord in vertebrates, as well as gill structures and cartilaginous elements. These features are typically found in vertebrate animals. Additionally, the Tully monster exhibited features of complex eyes, with features akin to those of vertebrate eyes, such as melanosomes arranged in layers, suggesting a camera-like eye structure. Despite these findings, the debate over the Tully monster's classification is not fully settled. Some paleontologists argue against the vertebrate classification, citing inconsistencies in the anatomical evidence. For instance, the structure identified as a notochord in the Tully monster does not entirely match those found in other known vertebrates. Moreover, some researchers suggest that the features interpreted as vertebrate traits could instead be remnants of the gut or other non-vertebrate structures. Critics also highlight that notochords are not always preserved in fossils, adding complexity to the classification. Further complicating the issue, a study published in 2017 challenged the vertebrate theory, presenting alternative interpretations of the Tully monster's anatomical features. The study pointed out that the supposed notochord extends in a way that is atypical for known vertebrates and lacks other definitive vertebrate characteristics, such as an inner ear structure. While significant strides have been made in understanding the Tully monster, its exact place in the tree of life remains a topic of ongoing research and debate. This creature's unusual combination of primitive and advanced features continues to captivate scientists and the public and provoke new hypotheses about its nature and evolution. William Kidd, better known as Captain Kidd, was born around 1645 in Scotland. He initially gained prominence as a privateer, a kind of legalized pirate commissioned by governments to raid enemy ships during wartime. By 1695, Kidd had received a commission from the English government to hunt pirates and protect English interests. His ship, the Adventure Galley, was well equipped with 34 cannons and a crew of 150 men. Kidd's career took a notorious turn when he captured the Kara Merchant, an Armenian ship flying under a French flag, in January 1698. This ship was laden with valuable goods including gold, silver, and silks, amongst other valuables. This act branded him as a pirate, as he didn't have a license to take French ships, leading to his arrest in 1699 upon returning to New York. Kidd was tried in England and found guilty of piracy. He was executed in 1701, taking the secrets of his alleged treasure to the grave. The legend of Kidd's treasure began even before his trial. It was rumored that he had buried vast amounts of gold and silver at various locations along his voyages. One of the most notable places linked to his treasure is Gardiner's Island off the coast of Long Island, New York. It is said that Kidd buried a portion of his loot there, which was later recovered by Governor Bellamont and sent to England as evidence against him. Over the years, various expeditions have sought to uncover Kidd's treasure. One significant discovery was made in 2015 when a marine archaeologist found a 121-pound bar of silver off the coast of Madagascar. Another popular theory involves Oak Island in Nova Scotia, where treasure hunters have excavated for centuries. The money pit on Oak Island is thought by some to be linked to Kidd, especially after a stone tablet was discovered with an inscription suggesting treasure buried deep underground. Despite numerous efforts, the pit remains a mystery, with various theories ranging from pirate booty to the Ark of the Covenant. There are several other suggestions as to where Captain Kidd's big, bountiful booty ended up. For example, some believe that Kidd hid additional treasures along the coasts of Connecticut and New Jersey, and even as far as Vietnam. The true nature and extent of Captain Kidd's booty remains unknown. Lyonesse, often depicted as a mythical kingdom, is believed to have stretched from Land's End in Cornwall to the Isles of Scilly. It is said to have vanished beneath the sea in a single catastrophic night. The tales of Lyonesse are deeply rooted in Arthurian mythology. It is famously associated with Tristan, a knight of the Round Table and the hero of the romantic tragedy, Tristan and Isolde. According to legend, Lyonesse was a fertile and prosperous land, home to numerous towns and 140 churches. It was ultimately engulfed by the ocean, leaving only the Isles of Scilly as remnants. While the story of Lyonesse is often relegated to the realm of myth, some believe there may be a kernel of truth. Geological evidence indicates that sea levels rose significantly around 4,000 years ago, which could explain the numerous local legends of sunken lands in the area. Fishermen near the Isles of Scilly have reported finding remnants of man-made structures in their nets, fueling speculation about the reality of Lyonesse. The legend of Lyonesse has parallels in other Celtic myths, such as the Breton tale of the sunken city of Ys. And yes, for anyone into somewhat obscure game series, the Nihon Falcom series is named after that exact sunken city. Some suggest it is a folk memory of real historical events, such as the flooding of low-lying coastal areas due to rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. This theory is supported by the presence of submerged forests and ancient human artifacts found in the region. Another interpretation ties Lyonesse to the broader tradition of sunken lands and cities, such as Atlantis. These stories may serve as cultural metaphors for lost golden ages, or as cautionary tales about the dangers of hubris and moral decay. Mentioned by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BC. In these works, Plato describes Atlantis as a powerful and technologically advanced civilization that existed approximately 9,000 years before his time. Notably, Plato claims that the Greeks acquired knowledge of Atlantis from the Egyptians, a civilization that was already viewed as ancient by the Greeks in antiquity. According to the narrative, Atlantis was situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, commonly identified as the Strait of Gibraltar, and was larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined. The Atlanteans attempted to conquer the known world, but were ultimately defeated by ancient Athens. Following their defeat, the gods punished Atlantis by submerging it into the ocean due to the inhabitants' hubris and moral decay. Plato's account of Atlantis has been the subject of extensive analysis and debate. Some scholars interpret the story as a philosophical allegory, illustrating the consequences of moral and societal corruption, rather than a historical account. Plato may have used the Atlantis narrative to critique contemporary Athenian society and to explore themes of ideal governance and the dangers of imperial ambition. Throughout history, various hypotheses have been proposed regarding the possible historical basis for Atlantis. One prominent theory suggests that the legend may reflect ancient records of the volcanic eruption on the island of Thera, modern day Santorini, around 1500 BC. This catastrophic event caused widespread destruction through earthquakes and tsunamis, severely impacting the Minoan civilization on Crete. Some researchers propose that these events could have inspired the Atlantis narrative. In the 19th century, interest in Atlantis was revitalized and taken quite literally. Ignatius L. Donnelly, whose 1882 book, Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, argued for the historical existence of Atlantis and its influence on ancient civilizations, played a large role. Modern interpretations of Atlantis vary wildly. Some view it as a metaphor for lost civilization and regression, while others view it as a cautionary tale about the perils of technological advancement and environmental neglect. Still others believe that it was a distant cultural memory of a real place and event. The M.V. Joyita mystery, often compared to maritime legends like the Mary Celeste, remains one of the most puzzling maritime disappearances in the Pacific Ocean. Originally a luxury yacht built in 1931 and later used as a merchant vessel, the Joyita set sail from Apia, Samoa, on October 3, 1955. It was destined for the Tokelau Islands, a fairly short and simple voyage that was supposed to last only 48 hours. However, the ship never arrived at its destination, sparking a massive search operation. It was eventually found adrift, nearly 600 miles off course, 5 weeks later without a single person on board. The condition in which the Joyita was discovered added layers to the mystery. The vessel was partially submerged and listing heavily, suggesting it had been in distress. Despite this, the ship's design, which included cork lining for buoyancy and a cargo of empty fuel drums, made it virtually unsinkable. The emergency radio was tuned to the International Distress Channel, but damage to its wiring limited its range to just 2 miles, hindering any effective call for help. Several theories have emerged over the years to explain the disappearance of the Joyita's passengers and crew. Some suggest a scenario of mutiny or panic caused by the ship's dire situation, exacerbated by a poorly maintained vessel and a crucial engine failure which left it drifting helplessly. There was also speculation of foul play, such as pirate attacks or even a hostile encounter with a Soviet submarine, though these theories lack concrete evidence and veer into the speculative. Even more speculative theories indicate the potential that the crew was subject to an alien abduction. However, there is no evidence whatsoever to support this assertion. However, perhaps the most interesting theory involves Japanese fishing boats. Local newspapers suggested that the crew had witnessed something among Japanese fishing boats that they weren't supposed to see. The Daily Telegraph in London speculated that remnants of Japanese forces from World War II could have been responsible. Suspicion grew when knives labeled "Made in Japan" were found on board, but these were later dismissed as old and unrelated to the incident. And just for some context here, that would be like finding a, quote, "Made in China" item at a scene these days, and assuming that was evidence of Chinese involvement. Pretty weak stuff. Ultimately, the Japanese theory was largely dismissed on the basis that it had been formulated on the basis of wartime animus, rather than any actual concrete evidence. Investigations revealed that the flooding likely began from a fractured cooling pipe, and the ship's bilge pumps were clogged and inoperative. This would have allowed water to accumulate unchecked. Despite these findings, no conclusive evidence has ever explained why the crew and passengers would abandon a ship that was still afloat. In the absence of survivors or definitive proof, the fate of those aboard the MV Joyita remains a haunting oceanic mystery. Theories continue to circulate, each trying to piece together the final hours of the ship's voyage, but the truth may be as elusive as the Joyita itself when it vanished into the vastness of the Pacific. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy here, just reminding you to like and subscribe and to hit the notification bell. And don't forget to hit share and send the video to any of your friends and family who are fascinated by oceanic and maritime mysteries. And of course, big shout out to all the shout out tier YouTube members and Patreon members who keep this channel afloat. You can join the ranks for as little as $1 a month. The lost city of Helike was an ancient Greek city located on the northern coast of the Peloponnesus, near the Gulf of Corinth. It was a prominent city-state, leading the Achaean League, a confederation of 12 cities, and worshipped Poseidon as its chief deity. The city's prosperity and religious significance made it a central hub for trade and culture in ancient Greece. Helike's sudden destruction occurred in the winter of 373 BC. Ancient accounts, though written years after the event, describe a catastrophic earthquake followed by a massive tsunami that submerged the city. The earthquake caused the ground to sink, and as the waters of the Corinthian Gulf surged over the city, it disappeared beneath the waves, leaving no trace. For centuries, the ruins were said to be visible underwater, with local sailors reporting glimpses of a submerged statue of Poseidon. The mystery primarily revolves around its sudden disappearance. The city's disappearance sparked numerous legends and theories, with some ancient writers suggesting that Helike's destruction was a divine punishment from Poseidon. This association with the sea god, along with the city's sudden submersion, led many to speculate that Helike could have inspired the legend of Atlantis, as described by Plato. While this connection remains a theory, it underscores the lasting impact of Helike's fate on Greek mythology and historical lore. For centuries, the exact location of Helike remained a mystery. Many believed it had sunk into the depths of the Gulf of Corinth, and attempts to locate the ruins focused on underwater archaeology. It wasn't until the late 20th century that a breakthrough occurred. In 2001, archaeologist Dora Katsanopoulou and her team made a significant discovery inland, near the modern village of Rizomailos. They found remnants of buildings and artifacts from the classical period, buried under a layer of silt that suggested the area had once been a lagoon, not an underwater city. The findings revealed that the city had not sunk into the sea, but could have been submerged by a combination of the earthquake and the subsequent formation of a lagoon. Over time, the lagoon silted up, and the city was buried under layers of sediment, preserving it for millennia until modern archaeology could uncover its secrets. Today, the site of Helike continues to be an area of active archaeological research. Excavations have uncovered various artifacts and structures, providing insights into the daily life, culture, and ultimate demise of this once thriving city. The island of Tuanaki is an island or group of islands that were once part of the Cook Islands, situated south of Rarotonga and within 2 days' sail of Mangaia. Tuanaki reportedly disappeared in the mid-19th century. The first documented mention of Tuanaki dates back to the early 19th century. Reverend Robert Bourne, a missionary, wrote about the island in 1825, noting its location and the abundance of food available there. By 1842, a sailor had visited Tuanaki and spent 6 days among the natives. However, by 1844, when a schooner of English missionaries attempted to find the island, it had vanished without a trace. The disappearance of Tuanaki has been attributed to several factors, including possible volcanic activity or submersion due to an underwater earthquake. Despite various searches, including one led by explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton in the early 20th century, the island has never been rediscovered. Tuanaki holds a significant place in the traditions and oral histories of the local Polynesian peoples. It is mentioned in the context of migration voyages and as a resting place for canoes traveling to New Zealand. In the 20th century, renewed interest in the lost island led to several expeditions, none of which turned up the island or islands. One theory suggests that the Hamet Rocks, located south of Mangaya, could be remnants of Tuanaki. However, the existence of these rocks is also unconfirmed, adding another layer of oceanic mystery to the island's story. Mongatore's whale, also known as Mongatore's monstrous fish, is a cryptid from the Mediterranean Sea. The creature was documented by the Sicilian historian and clergyman Antonino Mongatore in 1741, when a mysterious large marine animal washed ashore in Licata. This cryptid gained scientific attention and was later given the scientific name Oxypteris mongatori by the naturalist Constantine Samuel Rafinesque in 1814. The description of Mongatore's whale is notable for its size and unusual features. Mongatore himself sketched the creature alongside more familiar species, such as the sperm whale and the false killer whale, indicating its significant size and unique characteristics. Reports from that time describe the creature as being 45 feet long and having a circumference of 23 feet. One of the most intriguing aspects of Mongatore's whale is the presence of two dorsal fins, a feature not typically seen in known cetacean species. This peculiarity has fueled speculation and debate among cryptozoologists and marine biologists. Some suggest that the creature might have been a misidentified known species with anomalous growths, while others believe it could be a completely unknown species of whale. The scientific community's interest in Mongatore's whale highlights the blurred lines between myth, misidentification, and undiscovered species. While some scholars have attempted to classify the creature within known taxonomies, the lack of concrete evidence makes it an ongoing enigma. The classification by Rafinesque, although scientific, still leans heavily on the anecdotal and observational reports from nearly a century prior. Personally, I think this whale is one of the more compelling marine cryptids due to its detailed historical documentation. The Isle of Demons, a phantom island, appeared on maps from the early 16th century until the mid-17th century. This legendary island, often associated with Quirpon Island near Newfoundland, was reputed to be inhabited by demons and wild beasts that tormented those who ventured near. The first notable appearance of the Isle of Demons was on a 1508 map by Johannes Ruisch, which depicted the island near Newfoundland. Ruisch may have relocated the mythical island of Satanazes, originally shown on 15th century maps in the mid-Atlantic, to a new position near Newfoundland. The island continued to be featured on maps, including a detailed depiction by Giacomo Gastaldi in 1556, which portrayed it as a large island with illustrations of flying demons. The island's terrifying reputation was fueled by sailors' reports of strange noises and ghostly apparitions. These tales likely stemmed from a combination of superstition and the hazardous, uncharted waters of the North Atlantic. One of the most famous stories linked to the Isle of Demons is that of Marguerite de la Roque, a French noblewoman marooned on the island in 1542. Marguerite was abandoned by her uncle, Jean-François de la Roque de Roberval, reportedly due to her illicit affair with a young man on their voyage to New France. Marguerite allegedly survived alone on the island for several years before being rescued, and her story has been retold by numerous historians and writers. The exact location and existence of the Isle of Demons have been subjects of debate. Some historians suggest that the island was a misinterpretation of local indigenous legends about haunted places where spirits resided. The island's depiction gradually faded from maps as European explorers, including Jacques Cartier, more accurately charted the region's geography. The Flannan Isles, located in the Outer Hebrides off the west coast of Scotland, are a group of rocky, uninhabited islands. The lighthouse on Island Moor was constructed in 1899 to ensure the safe passage of ships. It was a challenging posting due to the remote location and harsh weather conditions. In December 1900, the three keepers, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur, vanished from the lighthouse on Island Moor. The mystery began on December 15th, when the steamer Archtor noticed that the lighthouse was not operational. This was reported upon the ship's arrival in Leith. The relief vessel Hesperus was sent on December 20th, but was delayed due to bad weather and only reached the island on December 26th. Upon arrival, relief keeper Joseph Moore found the lighthouse empty. The gate and main door were closed, the beds were unmade. There was a stopped clock, and an overturned chair with an uneaten meal was left on the table. 2 of the 3 oilskins were missing, suggesting that the men had ventured out during a storm without proper protection. Robert Muirhead, superintendent of the Northern Lighthouse Board, who had recruited the men, conducted an official investigation on December 29th. He concluded that Ducat and Marshall had gone to secure equipment on the western landing during the storm, possibly to avoid being fined. Marshall had previously been levied a fine for losing equipment. It is believed they were swept away by a large wave, and MacArthur, noticing their absence, went out to look for them and met the same fate. Despite Muirhead's conclusions, numerous theories have emerged over the years. Some speculated that the men were taken by a giant sea serpent or whisked away by a ghost ship's crew. Others suggested abduction by foreign spies, or that they were taken by aliens, or that there was some sort of dimensional slip that sent them either forward or backwards in time. But back to more conventional theories. There were suggestions that a fight broke out among the keepers. Given MacArthur's reputation for a hot temper, some believed he might have caused a confrontation that led to their disappearance. However, there is no evidence to support this theory. Another theory posits that the keepers staged their disappearance to escape debts or to start new lives elsewhere. But again, no evidence supports this idea. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no trace of the keepers was ever found. The lighthouse continued to operate with other keepers, but the mystery of the Flannan Isles has never been resolved. The Akorokamui is a fascinating and mysterious oceanic cryptid stemming from Ainu folklore native to Japan, particularly associated with Funka Bay in Hokkaido. This legendary creature is often described as an enormous, octopus-like being, with some accounts likening it to a half-woman, half-octopus entity. According to folklore, the Akorokamui can reach astonishing lengths of up to 390 feet, making it amongst the largest cryptids. Its coloration is said to be a vibrant red, often compared to the reflection of a setting sun on the water, which contributes to its striking appearance. The name Akorokamui reflects its roots in Ainu culture. Kamui in Ainu language signifies a spiritual or divine being, adding a layer of reverence and spiritual significance to the creature. This sea monster is not just a figure of fear, but also one of reverence, embodying aspects of the natural and spiritual world in Ainu belief systems. The lore surrounding the Akorokamui is rich and varies slightly between sources, with some describing it as a vengeful, destructive force, while others regard it as a deity of healing and protection. The history of sightings and accounts of the Akorokamui stretches back centuries, with the most notable documented encounters dating from the 19th century. English missionary John Batchelor recorded one such encounter in his writings, detailing a terrifying confrontation between local fishermen and the monstrous sea creature. These accounts add a layer of tangible history to the Akorokamui, bridging the gap between legend and potential reality. Despite its fearsome reputation, there are those who believe that the creature has healing powers, a belief that integrates the creature into Shinto practices. Offerings and prayers to it are thought to heal physical ailments and injuries, showcasing the creature's dual nature as both a destroyer and a healer. Like the Kraken, supporters of the creature believe that there's an obvious real-world explanation for this cryptid. Giant squids are well-documented elusive animals, which are known for their impressive size and deep-sea habitat. They can grow up to 43 feet long, making them one of the largest creatures in the ocean. Their large size and elusive nature contribute to the mystery surrounding them, much like this cryptid. The size of the giant squid, although significant, is smaller than the lengths reported in some Akorokamui legends, which describe the creature as reaching up to 390 feet. However, the giant squid's substantial dimensions and mysterious deep-sea life could have contributed to the creation of sea monster tales. Their reddish-brown color, consistent with the color reported for this cryptid, and enormous eyes, could add to their monstrous appearance in murky underwater conditions. This could have led to exaggerated reports by mariners and fishermen and contributing to the folklore surrounding sea monsters like the Akorokamui. Also, it's important that once the legend has become established, an element of mass hysteria has the potential to take root. If a fisherman is primed to expect to see a 390-foot octopus-like creature and a 40-foot squid shows up with part of its body submerged in the depths, this easily becomes an Akorokamui. If you like this video, be sure to click the share button and send it to at least one friend or family member. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. The next part in this series will be dropping very shortly.